Hello and good afternoon. My name is Stephen Hines and I'm an extension educator with the University of Idaho. I'd like to welcome you today to From the Ground Up, Cover Crop Solutions for Western Farmers. So our first set of presenters this afternoon, I'd like to introduce Jeremy Allen. He is president of the Western Cover Crop Council and owner of Five Kingdom Farms. And presenting with him is Doug Collins with Washington State University.
All right, well, welcome everybody. We're going to get right to it. My name is Jeremy Allen, as you just told you. I'm the president of the Western Cover Crops Council. And we are, next slide, the last region to form a cover crops council in the country. If you look on this image here, you'll see that there are 4 districts in the SARE region, SARE standing for Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education. It's an entity of the federal government to help kind of promote kind of more environmentally minded agriculture and kind of cutting edge technology. We were formed in 2018, 2019 with grant funding, and then the plan is to be set off on our own as an independent entity. We got money from the grant to get started. We voted for the board of directors and then officers, and I was elected in March of 2020 because as the only farmer on the board of directors and the only farmer as an officer, I think a lot of these academics think that farmers just sit around watching plants grow and animals eat. So obviously we have plenty of time to tackle one of the greatest missions of our ecologic and agricultural crisis in the largest landmass in the leading country in the world. So, you know, no big deal. We are the largest region. We're 1.8 million square miles, which is almost double that of the North Central and Southern SARE. And I would give a little respect to Alaska in this picture. So next slide, I've kind of modified the picture a little bit to show so you'll see that we are of everything we're doing here. So the WCCC has its work cut out for it. Next slide. So you'll see here are all these ecoregions, and we in the Pacific Northwest, we're very unique. You see that nice black line there separating the west and the east. I'm over here in Bend, Oregon. People on the west side of the mountains have a totally different biome, and that makes this kind of even more complex. Next slide. So we have created a website, and this is probably kind of the apex of everything we're trying to do. We're trying to unite all of the different vested interests in cover crop use, from farmers to academics to the seed creators and so and sellers. So we've created a website, and we've tried making it unique, and we want people to come and visit, finding information here, networking and connections. So I encourage everybody, of course, to go visit us. At the bottom, you see westerncovercrops.org. Next slide. So our mission is, next slide, to facilitate and enhance communication and collaboration that promotes the successful adoption and integration of cover cropping into Western U.S. agricultural systems, which is a mouthful. And really all we're trying to say is grow more plants. And that's pretty much our mission. Next slide. So we want people to understand, and there will be a lot of talking about this in this webinar series across all 4 days, but cover crops are a tool, not a solution. They won't be the panacea. It's not the one fix it, but it is an important tool to add to the toolbox of creating regenerative agriculture and to improve our systems to be a leader in the world, if we can be, for agricultural systems and in the setting of climate change. So next slide. Or next. So one thing I always like to point out is you don't pick the plants growing in your farm. Nature will do that. That living roots in the ground equals healthier soil. That biology trumps chemistry. And in that sense, we talk a lot about soil testing, and we really focus on elemental components to the soil. And yet we're learning more and more that plant compounds are a huge element, and the microbiology in the soil is incredibly important. And cover crops play a direct role in that. And then, of course, people always bring it back to money, improved economics, both short-term and long-term. So next. So a lot of people are looking at this and say, yeah, but I don't know if this applies to me. And the thing that I would point out is, next slide, is plants grow on your farm. If you are a farmer or you know farmers, plants are growing there. And if Matt Damon can go to Mars, next slide, and grow potatoes in Martian soil in his poop, I'm sure that you can grow cover crops on your farm too. So next slide. You can do it. I want you to watch these webinars. I want you to look at these and see how you can incorporate this. I'm certain that somebody has done cover crops in your exact biome with your exact planting style. If you're doing wheat or if you have cattle or anything in between, certainly somebody has tried growing cover crops. And our job with the Western cover crops is to connect you with them and to create as much kind of collaboration and integration so that everybody is integrating cover crops into their systems. And that's what I got for today. I'll be presenting in not next week, but the week after as well for our region. And I turn it over to Doug.
So I am Doug Collins, and I'm a soil scientist and extension specialist at Washington State University. I am on the wet side of the state in Puyallup, Washington, a little bit south of Seattle. And I do research on cropping systems and quite a bit with cover crops, one of my favorite things to research. And I'm on the board of the Western Cover Crop Council, and I am the chair of what we call the Pacific Northwest Regional Subcommittee. And so these are the other esteemed members of that committee. And we're a little bit heavy on the Oregon side here. We do have Washington, Idaho, and Alaska represented as well. We're definitely recruiting new members, especially farmers. So if you would like to get involved, and I hope you do, because this is a very exciting time to be involved with the Western Cover Crop Council. And these regional committees will be very action oriented. We have a few meetings a year, and our goals there are to highlight and share cover crop innovations, collaborate on grant funded projects, develop ideas for future research and education grant proposals that will increase cover crop adoption, and discuss successes and challenges with cover crop adoption, research and education. And then also be the conduit to the larger Western Cover Crop Council and contribute to the social media and outreach efforts of that council. So if you'd like to hear more, get involved, you can go straight to the website, westerncovercrops.org. And there, if you go to regions, you can find the Pacific Northwest region and connect with us and get involved. And I will be sharing some of my research at some of the future webinars, including next week.